well, telling her that, yo, something is seriously wrong with Bobby. Like, he needs to go to the hospital.
Yeah, yo, help me.
Come on. And they said that she just sort of, like, waved it all off, saying it was fine. He just didn't feel well. No, he's just complaining. He just doesn't feel well, and he's making it bigger than it is.
Okay, yeah, if it lasts for, like, 2 days. If it lasts a year, you're just a gold-hearted bitch.
Exactly. And these symptoms were not mild, which I'll get into in a minute. So one day, in September of 1991, just before Joanne and Bobby's first wedding anniversary, Bobby's brother and sister came over and found that Bobby had degraded really severely, really quickly. So they found him in an upstairs bedroom, unable to walk. He said that his palms and the bottom of his feet hurt tremendously, like he couldn't touch anything.
Oh.
And he also complained he had been vomiting a lot and he had lost most of his hair. So it was, like, severe. The family, again, pleaded with Joanne to take him to the hospital. They're like, he can't walk.
Yeah, I
like,
called 911 at that point.
Obviously, well, she dismissed it. So at that point, Bobby's brother called 911, like, at the house, and to get an ambulance for his brother. He's like, sorry, Joanne, like, I just can't not take him in.
Yeah.
So he and Bobby's sister told Joanne to go ahead and ride in the back of the ambulance with him, and they would drive separately. And Joanne was like, nah, I'll drive myself. And she was, like, on the phone, like, chatting with someone, kind of lollygagging. And then the EMTs were like, are you Bobby's wife? And she said, yes, I'm Joanne. And so they're like, hey, we need a list of what prescriptions he's taking so we don't give him something that, like, counteracts whatever and can have a bad effect. And she refused to give it to them, saying, like, he's fine. Like, he doesn't, this is all not a big deal. And so she wouldn't give them the list of prescriptions he was taking. Like,
red flag after red flag.
Very weird. So only days after being admitted to the hospital, on the brink of death, Bobby started miraculously, drastically improving in a matter of, like, hours. But his family didn't know. His family didn't know he was improving because the hospital only wanted to disclose health information to his wife, Joanne. And she was being extremely tight-lipped and not letting anyone know Bobby's state of well-being. His family didn't know if he was getting better or dying or what. And she was like, I can't talk about it. Like, I'm upset, blah, blah. And she wasn't staying at the hospital. She was, like, going home. And Joanne visited him in the hospital a few times after his health had improved. And so she brought him pizza, which was something he really enjoyed, and iced tea, because he loved iced tea. So while Bobby was in the hospital recovering, Joanne was going back and forth from caring for her young daughter. I think she was, like, 4 at the time, or 5. And the trial from the original case that her husband, her had died from. The day she brought Bobby the pizza and tea that I just mentioned, it was a specific moment she brought that, Joanne was in a super good mood because it turns out she had won the trial and she had won $1.7 million. But as far as we know, she didn't tell this to Bobby. She didn't disclose this to him. So she gave him the pizza and didn't let him know about the money as far as we know. And this was on September 27th. So Bobby was, like, improving a lot, but all of a sudden his symptoms...
until he had the pizza.
His symptoms reappeared after eating what Joanne had brought him. So that night, Bobby pulled a nurse aside and asked her, please help because I think my wife might be trying to kill me. Like, something, he just, like, it connected.
Put it together, yeah.
So in the early hours of the morning, Bobby's heart stopped and he was unable to be revived after eating the pizza and drinking the tea. So the very next day, an autopsy was conducted and it was ruled that it was a workplace contamination. So Bobby was a professional electrician who worked at a lab at Wilkes University. This lab also stored a large amount of thallium, a metallic substance that historically was the main ingredient in rat poison. So they were like, well, it obviously was a workplace contamination. It got in his system, and there's too much. That was after the initial autopsy. Not a ton of testing was done. They found it in his system. That was it. Joanne had him immediately buried after the autopsy. Didn't want anything else done. However, in the coming years, investigators began to suspect Joanne more in their investigation for whatever reason. Even though they ruled it that, the way that she acted and stuff, they wanted more information, so they kind of kept it open and kept looking at it.
Yeah.
So in 1994, 3 years later, the investigators had Bobby's body exhumed, and they did more testing, and the testing actually took an entire year, and they made a huge discovery. So the investigators discovered that Bobby had 900 times the lethal dose of thallium in his system.
Holy shit.
And they did this by looking at his hair follicles. So the scientists involved in his case saw the thallium in his hair strands for at least 10 months to 11 months before he died, which means right after they got married. And he hadn't been working at the university 10 months before that, so it couldn't have been the lab accident because he didn't even work there
in his system
before he worked there. Investigators also tested Joanne and her daughter for thallium in their systems, and they also had it in their systems. The new forensics also showed that not only was Bobby given small doses of thallium over an extended period of time of 10 to 11 months, but that he was also given massive exposure to it the day before his death. The pizza and tea. She actually put it in the tea. She'd been poisoning his tea. These tests took an entire year to complete, but
Don't drink the tea.
Don't drink the tea. But once the findings were released, Joanne had hired a defense attorney, like, right away. So in December of 1996, Joanne was arrested on first-degree murder charges. 2 months later, the preliminary hearing takes place and Joanne pleads not guilty. The prosecution announces that they're going to seek the death penalty. So 5 months later, before the trial starts, Joanne gets really nervous about the death penalty. So she tells the investigators that she poisoned Bobby many times in his tea, and that she had also poisoned herself and her daughter to make it look like it was like an entire like something in the house.
I wouldn't poison myself, so clearly someone did.
Yeah, and her daughter too. She was poisoning, but not to the point of death. Just like to make it look like when you kill people and then shoot yourself in the arm.
Yeah, exactly.
Which people do. Yeah. So when they asked her why, she said it was because at their wedding, Bobby passively happened to mention that he had a large life insurance policy of $300,000, which was a lot in 1990, and she decided that she wanted that. So that kind of gave her the idea, I guess. So as a part of the plea bargain, Joanne pled guilty to third-degree murder, which was what this plea bargain was about. She wouldn't get the death sentence if she pled guilty to third-degree murder, which is I had to look it up because you don't hear about third-degree murder.
Yeah, I was going to ask what that is.
So it's essentially like manslaughter, but there's a key difference.
What she did was not... Okay.
The difference still is not all what she did. In third-degree murder, you intend to cause bodily harm, but you don't necessarily intend to kill, but that the homicide accidentally happens due to negligence or recklessness. So it's like extreme abuse.
But that's not what she did.
No, because she admitted to wanting to kill him for the life insurance. So absolutely ridiculous that that's what it ended up being. I have no idea how that's okay. Like, I get third-degree murder in a case where it's like, which this is horrible, and, for example, a child abuse case where they don't mean to kill the child and then they cover it up when they accidentally do. That's absolutely third-degree murder. You might even call it first-degree murder, though, depending on if you can tell whether or not they actually did want the person to die. Yeah. This is more like long-term abuse, which is not what she was doing. She was trying to kill him, and she admitted to it. So anyways, Joanne is found guilty of third-degree murder. She gets 20 years in state prison, not federal prison, which is the maximum for this crime in Pennsylvania, which is where they're at. Joanne tried for parole 8 times and was denied every time. But in December 2016, her 20-year sentence was up, and Joanna was released. So she walks among us.
The stupid rat bitch is out?
Yep. For third-degree murder, where she intentionally killed her husband, and she got the life insurance, and she got the $1.7 million. And she almost got away with it. Yeah. She should have had him cremated. She would have got away with it. Tips.
I hope her daughter hates her and has nothing to do with her.
I couldn't find anything about her daughter. Which, when you can't find anything, you're like, they obviously don't want people to know about them.
Yeah, and you don't want to go hunt it.
Yeah, because you would speak out and do articles. You would do interviews.
Yeah, if they're not, then obviously, if she doesn't want to be found, I'm not going to try to find her.
Yeah.
That was good. It was good.
I mean, it's not very long, but like...
That's okay. Mine's really long, and I went a very different direction.
Okay, good.
Another beer, and we'll go?
Yeah, another beer. All right, why don't you explain our second beer, and I'm going to try to finish this one really quick.
Okay. Sarah sent Evan to get our beer. You should have seen the ones in the cooler.
Well, because he brought some of his dude friends with him to pick the beer out. Yeah. The labels are ridiculous on some of them.
One of them has like a naked chick on it. My leg is falling asleep.
That's
this
weird.
Is good, though. It's wood-aged bitches brew. There's a shark on it.
I'm surprised they were allowed to put bitches on the bottle.
Dogfish Head.
Yeah, Dogfish Head's logo is a shark.
It's stout brewed with honey. I think, you have to be 21 to buy beer, and I think if you're 21, you're old enough to read the word bitches. Duff man. Oh, it is really dark.
The rats are here. What does that smell like? It smells like something familiar. Does it to you?
It smells like coffee. It's a very sweet stout.
With the honey.
I'm a little teapot, short and stout.
Honey, honey. Burning, burn, 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 burn.
Dude looks like a lady. Dude looks like a lady.
And he walks like a man
One of my favorite things to do in the scene of Mrs. Doubtfire when Robin Williams is talking to like the
that movie.
The lady who helps you get a job, lady.
Yes.
And he goes, and he's like, I do whatever, the whole thing. Yeah. And he goes, I do a great impression of a hot dog.
Yeah. And then he just like makes his body look like a hot dog.
Yeah.
We should probably just explain this beer briefly.
Oh,
we just kind of looked at each other and kept going.
It tastes like, it's a very, very dark, almost black.
It's really, really bitter in the throat. I feel like it's sweet. Would you stop? It's sweet, like, at the first taste, but then when you don't take a drink bitter. After a while, it sits really, really
It's like
bitter.
a very black coffee is what it tastes like.
Yeah, it tastes like coffee.
Yeah, very bitter.
And there's, like, no head on it. It's just, like, dark. Stop.
Didn't do anything. Okay, so I started with looking up other years that were Year of the Rat.
Oh, yeah.
And then I found this list. And did you know that the Year of the Rat has produced more serial killers than any other, like, sign?
That's insane.
Yes. Like, I'll give you some... Well, let me tell my sources first.
Okay.
So, Murderpedia, medicalbag.com, Ranker, an article by Kat McAuliffe, which I've used before. Ranker. Some YouTube videos. NPR, an article by Charles Graber. And this will give it away. There's a show on Netflix called Nurses Who Kill. I'm going to talk about Charles Cullen.
Oh.
I had never heard of him. Have you?
I think I have.
Okay.
Yeah, is he on the East Coast?
Yeah. Jersey.
Yeah. I think I know this, but I might be wrong because there are so many Nurses Who Kill cases. I can't believe how many nurses kill people, by the way.
I know.
But yeah, I think maybe I know this.
So I'm going to say, to start, the Year of the Rat has given us so many goddamn serial killers. Jeffrey Dahmer, Richard Ramirez, Henry Lee Lucas, Ed Kemper, just to name a few.
So were these people, do you know if they were born the Year of the Rat or they attacked?
Were born the Year of the Rat.
Yo, you pregnant people.
Have your baby in the next couple days or they gonna kill people.
No, because they're not going to hear this till January 1st.
God damn it.
Yeah, so Rosemary's Baby over there.
And Charles Edmund Cullen, who I'm going to tell you about today. Charles Cullen, killer nurse, angel of death, possibly one of, if not the most prolific serial killers of our time, if experts could prove it.
Okay, I do know it's Angel of Death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Charles Cullen was born February 22nd, 1960.
That's almost my birthday.
Well, not 1960. Another Year of the Rat. In West Orange, New Jersey. He was the youngest of 8, and he grew up in a super ultra Catholic family. His father died when he was an infant. 2 of his siblings also passed away during his childhood, which he describes as miserable. Not them dying, but his childhood. I'm sure them passing away was miserable too, but...
You're like, not the death of them, but...
But he describes his whole childhood as miserable.
That's hard.
He attempted suicide at least 20 times, per his accounts. The first time when he was only 9.
Oh.
So clearly something,
yeah,
like, he's suffering from something.
There was something happening to him. Yeah.
When he was 9 years old, he drank chemicals out of a chemistry set.
Oh.
But it wasn't enough to kill him. It just made him sick.
Oh, my God.
Another time, years later, he stabbed a pair of scissors through his head and had to have emergency surgery. So if anyone's going to grow up to be a serial killer, it's this guy.
Yeah, and also, I can't imagine if he got... Well, I don't know if he punctured his skull, but you could never be the same after that.
No. Oh. And then his mom passed away from a car accident when he was 17. I'm only laughing because you told me not to laugh at the last one. And his sister was driving the car. Like, I can't imagine this whole... Yeah, this just tragedy after tragedy.
Wow.
After this, Cullen dropped out of high school and he went into the Navy in 1978. Not a Year of the Rat.
We've memorized all the years, and that's not one of them.
I have. Where he operated missiles and submarines. And it was also around this time, that he started showing signs of severe mental instability and depression. But obviously, he had always had this.
I think it was when he was 9.
Yeah.
So.
I wrote, but he's always had this at least by 9.
Yes.
While in the Navy, he tried to commit suicide multiple times, which led to his discharge in 1984. Another Year of the Rat.
Now I want to look back. I want to look back and see what happened every Year of the Rat.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a year that's like a little weird.
2020 is going to be crazy.
We're Year of the Sheep.
That's what 91 is?
Yeah.
That was a bad sheep.
Does that sound realistic?
Yes.
Wait, hold on. Let me try again.
Oh, God, stop. It's creepy.
There There's a farm in my bedroom.
After leaving the Navy, he decided to